forgot him. Whew. What a ride, what a ride, what a ride. Okay, folks. It's Saturday night. Welcome, once again, to a show filmed live on tape from a secret, undisclosed location hidden somewhere in the bowels of historic downtown St. John's. Comes direct to you from my couch in the Library of Graphic Literature with your host, me, Wallace Ryan. So, how's everyone doing there tonight? Cheers. Let's have a spin of the old spinner right there. I was a little bit later than usual, getting back from my daughter's house, having a great time with the grandkids and the daughter and all that, and Chris, and just had a great time. Lovely way to spend a Saturday evening. We had some pop, and we watched Hamilton, which the granddaughter absolutely adores, and with the Simpsons, and had a nice little walk around with them, and they got a ride back home here. And I had to talk to my sister, because I always give her a call, checking on her, and then it's just like, okay, Wallace, stop the shagging around, get down to the show. So, here we go. Not a lot of stuff this week, so I actually included two Masterworks, two Avengers Masterworks that are two of my favorite. So in case I didn't really fill up the time, I figured, well, okay, this is a bit of space here anyway. So, let's do it to it. Let's get down to it right away. And we'll start off by me having another sip of tea. Now, two of these are a little bit older, but it's been a backup in the shipments lately, so, I mean, what are you going to do? Anyway, we'll start off this week with Batman Gotham by Gaslight, the deluxe edition. This is one of my favorite of the Elseworlds, and this actually launched the Elseworlds imprint for DC Comics by Mike Mignola, Brian Augustyn, P. Craig Russell, Eduardo Barreto, and it includes a couple of other stories using the same characters. But to me, my favorite part of this is the Mike Mignola part. And here we go. It's absolutely lovely. Yeah, I love Mignola's artwork, and there's the Barreto artwork. And then in to some other stuff where Stock Shenauer. This is from the Convergence, so it's a story used with which the characters are, they appear in it. So why not? But I love Gotham by Gaslight, and just the whole Elseworlds concept. It enabled writers and artists to really spread their wings and try different things with some established characters and the like. So it's too bad you don't really see much of Elseworlds anymore from DC. You don't see much of it anymore from DC. So yeah, it's too bad. If I was editor of DC, I'd bring back Elseworlds and Vertigo, and a bit of common sense. Hang on a second. Let's give this another spin. Next up comes Batman, the Demon Trilogy. Now this includes the Mike Barr, Jerry Bingham thing. Denny O'Neil is involved. Tom Grindberg and Breyfogle. So this is it's not a bad. It wasn't, especially the first one was probably the one I was more the fan of. Having to do with Ra's al Ghul and the like, and Talia. So yeah, if you're a Batman fan, this is actually worth reading. It's some good good Batman stuff. And I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. And like I say, especially the first one. The first one is truly my favorite, the original one. So, check that out. Definitely well worth the read. Whew. Okay, now, this one I bought just because of the title. And I'll show you this now in a second from Image. Let's cut this up here. This is from Image, from Alex de Campi and Erica Henderson. Comes Dracula, Mother. Oh, who's beeping my show here? Oh, jeez, there's a little bit of a thing on it. This is Vienna, 1889. Dracula's brides nail him to the bottom of his coffin, and then I guess he's. Oh yeah, it says here. Then L.A. 1974. Aging starlet decides to raise the stakes. Crime scene photographer Quincy Harker has the proof, but will anyone believe him before he gets his very own chalk outline? And are Dracula's three brides here to help Quincy, or to use him as bait? But yeah, it looked pretty interesting, and I figured with a title like that, it can't be all that bad. Kind of neat artwork too for it. Let's have a quick close up here now. Dracula, mother, whoop. But yeah. Very, very interesting. Yeah, like the artwork looks like it may be halfway worth reading. Okay. Whew. A cup of tea here. Sorry, another sip of tea here. Okay, now on we go. And the last new one, we're going through them really quickly here. Now, we didn't get our comics from not last week, the week before, so we may get a shipment. I don't know what happened to the shipment, got lost somewhere along the way, but when that shows up, I think there might be a book or two in that I can talk with you about. But anyway, here's my next one, which is Irena, Book 3, Life After the Ghetto. Dun, 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 dun. Now, Irena, fascinating character. I'll read a little bit off the back for you. This is the true story of Irena Sendil-Roa, a member of the Citizen Center for Social Aid during the Second World War. She joined the resistance and saved 2,500 children from Nazi-occupied Warsaw Ghetto. And this is basically everything she did after the war and during the Soviet occupation. She was arrested by the Nazis because she had they tried to get the names of all these children that she helped hide and all that out of her, but she resisted the torture and all that, and she was actually sentenced to death. And I think it was something like either the day before or whatever, they managed to bribe some German officials and get her out of there. And she's really, you got to read the story, because I read up about her when I first got them, and it was just like, wow, this is an amazing character. Now, there's supposed to be a film, allegedly, with Gal Gadot playing her, but it was just like, wow, how come someone hasn't made a film about her? She's like a female Schindler, but sort of nicer, and someone who really did face death down directly in the eye. So definitely worth reading. This is the third book in the series, and it's just beautifully drawn. There's just something about this that is just absolutely stunning when it comes to the drawing. So let's have a look here. It's so very there's something very disarming about it. It has almost like a children's literature type of look to it. So it's not for the faint of heart, I think, but I mean beautifully done. So worth reading. This is of course from Magnetic Press. So folks from Magnetic Press, way to go. Good job. Very good job. Whew. Time for another sip of tea here. Oh. I hope you like my new jacket here. It's part of my new ensemble. Now, through all the new books, what are you going to do, Wallace? What do you got left for us? Well, I'll tell you what I got left for you. This is kind of like a blast from the past, as my friend Jason Conway says. When we do videos for a store with his pick of the weeks, we always do a blast from the past, something from either long ago or recent history. Some great comics that no one seems to be buying anymore, or just aren't getting the love they should be, the loving that they should be. So I figured, I'd migrate that over into this show a little bit at times, especially like tonight's show, where we don't have a huge, backup of things to talk about, and talk about them with you. So I picked the Avengers volumes 14 and 15 to chat with you about. These are both, especially the 14. This is almost all Steve Englehart did the writing, except for two of the stories in this. Goes from 129 to 135, except for 132, and he does giant size numbers 2 and 4. And the artwork too, in a lot of these is just is absolutely stunning. The artwork in it, Sal Buscema does most of it. And what I like about the Sal Buscema ones, it's all inked by Joe Staton, and he's one of my favorite inkers for Sal. The other thing in this is there are two Dave Cockrum giant size issues, one which he inks himself, which is absolutely beautiful, and another one inked by Joe Gilla, which never was really a big fan. And then there's Joe Stanton does two of the issues, Tuska does one, and Don Heck does giant size number 4. And I do believe that's the marriage of the Vision and Scarlet Witch. Ooh. Just had to brace myself up there a bit. Okay, so this here is the cover. Beautiful book. So worth it. Well, like I say, one of my favorites. When I was growing up, I was mainly a DC fan, and I started to. It was around this time that I got into Marvel comics, and I was just like, wow, these Marvel comics are actually pretty good. And this particular series, as it's known, this Celestial Madonna storyline, is one of my favorites. Steve Englehart, him along with Gerber, McGregor, and oh God, who else was some of the big? Well, there was a huge wave of new writers who came along for Marvel and really took over, and really did an amazing job. And this, of course, this is the Sal Buscema drawn by or inked by, Joe Staton. And I mean, I was always a fan of Buscema, but the way that Staton inks them is just absolutely amazing. And then in this too, this is it. This is the giant size Avengers number 2, which is one of my favorite of the giant size editions. This one actually, it has Dave Cockrum, but he's inking himself. I always thought Cockrum was best when he inked himself. This to me, it ranks up there with giant size X-Men number 1 in terms of my favorite David Cockrum stories. Talking about Rama Todd and Kang. Absolutely incredible. And just an amazing story. Love scene here. But yeah, Cockrum was one of the best. And this, of course, ends off. Oh, there. This is when Mantis is revealed to be the Celestial Madonna. And in the end, unfortunately, the swordsman is killed. So the swordsman dies in this one. And then we're back into the regular ones with Sal. Oh, I always like Sal's smacking someone, punching someone is always very dramatic. He always did linger under the umbrella of his under the shadow of his brother, but I still think he was great himself. This is the Dave Cockrum ink by Joe Gilla, who I never really liked that one. It wasn't one of my favorites. Now this coming up here, this is actually one of my favorite storylines. Was they got into the origins of and it was through, like I say, the origin of Mantis and the Vision, and they did this over, including this one. They did it over a series of issues, and it was absolutely cool. And that's a fill-in issue there. Well, not a fill-in issue. That's George Tuska did that. Then was Dapper Don Heck, and I still like this one. Even I know some people aren't big fans of the Don, but this was basically the culmination of the entire Celestial Madonna series, and it was cool. It was cosmic. It was Jim Starlin would have been. I forgot to throw him in terms of the new writers at the time. He would have been right up there with Englehart and the folks. Now, in the second volume, volume 15, this baby here, we have Englehart, but he doesn't. He wrote most of them. He wrote up to 137 to 144, and then 2 issues that were filled in by Tony Isabella, and 145 Scott Edelman. But basically, Englehart writes most of these, and this features the art of George Tuska, 137 to 140, and then George Perez. There's a couple of Don Heck and a Keith Ballard story in this, but this basically brings into play the Serpent Crown affair and that, which I really liked. And this was, like I say, very early George Perez stuff, but it got into the whole issue with Kang, and the Avengers go back in time and they meet up with the Western hero, the Marvel Western heroes like Two Gun Kid and the original Ghost Rider, Rawhide Kid, and a bunch of them, and Kid Colt too, and they're fighting Kang back in the old West, and that. It was a really cool story. It also involves the first appearance of Hellcat, and their fight against the Roxxon Corporation and stuff like that, and a bit of the Squadron Supreme tossed in for good measure. But all in all, still one of my favorite heroes. Starts out with some jaunty George Tuska artwork, and get right into where they're meeting up with the Squadron Supreme. And this is George Perez comes aboard, and yeah, so it's pretty good. You see an appearance of Kang, and then this Squadron Supreme is involved there with a fight. I always had to laugh at this Golden Archer and Lady Lark, which were obviously pale imitations of Green Arrow and Black Canary, and this is it. Go west, young gods. So you had, like I say, Rawhide Kid, Two Gun Kid, Kid Colt, and the Ghost Rider. Amazing story. I always loved this story, and this is where I really became just a huge Avengers fan. This issue too, one of my favorites. Sam Granger, I do believe, inked this one. He did an amazing job, I think, inking George Perez. But yeah, very, very cool. And I like this, how Kang is defeated in the end, and Immortus, King Tut, Ramatut and all of them also disappear after the destruction of Kang, because they're more or less all the same person. Then back with George Perez here. Another, this is actually where we first get to see. And this is Patsy Walker, one of the longest running cartoon characters actually in the Marvel Universe, because she was a character way back into the 50s. Here she becomes the Hellcat, taking over the costume from the hero who would eventually become Tigra. And this is like a fill-in issue here. Don Heck. And then it's back to the with George Perez and all that to run out the clock here beautifully. Like I say, beautiful. Here we go there too. And they actually bring back a Two-Gun Kid with them to the present and all that, which is kind of cool. So yeah, definitely some of my favorite Avengers from my era, from the 1970s. So, but yeah, these two volumes in particular, 14 and 15, they're some of the best, I think, of the 1970s Avengers. So if you're looking for some good 70s Avengers to sink your teeth into, I would say you just want to go out there and buy a Marvel Masterworks. Try that one. Try those two. Anyway. That being said, it's time to wrap it up for another week. Hopefully I'll have, a nice big pile of books for you next week to turn you on with. And in the meantime, check out Thursday Comics. Next week coming up is, there's one out this week, which is a news one, but the one out next week is the Vertigo. Top 10 Vertigo ones. And it was hard to pick them. Me and Dennis had a real hard time. So check that out on next week on iTunes or Spotify, Buzzsprout, and a few other sites there too. And in the meantime, check out the Library of Graphic Literature Facebook page and let us know what books you're buying, what books you're loving. That being said, thanks for having me over. I love all you guys. And keep on reading. Oh my God. It's like it came to life in and of itself. Oh my God. Oh, this is pulling me away. Okay. Love y'all. See ya.